Hello, Chargers fans, and welcome to another episode of ChargersCast. ChargersCast is a podcast about everything Los Angeles Chargers by fans for fans. And as I'm sure you can see right out of the gate, I want to welcome Brennan Isham back. Brennan's from Chargers District. He's a regular here on the show, but last week he wasn't able to make it for various personal reasons. So I'm glad to have Brennan back. Brennan, good to see you, buddy. Despite what we're going to be talking about in this pod, it's good to see you, bud. How you doing?
Yeah, it's good to be back. Doing pretty good. Obviously, we've had a rough 2 weeks for the Chargers and this fan base, but other than that, it's been pretty good. Just working on the content, trying to pump that as much as I can for the Charger fans. Stay up on all the news and stuff.
Nice. Well, it's great to have you back, buddy. And yeah, I think we're all, crying in our beer, if you will.
Yeah.
Let's dispense with the formalities here. Get this going. And that's my typical, my kind of mainstay. Nice Modelo Especial. That and Dos Equis those are always in the fridge. And then once in a while I get a little more exotic stuff, but all right, man. We got a lot to cover. We might run long today. It is what it is at this point, but we need to make sure we do this justice. We're going to go over this. Man, I got all kinds of four-letter words I could use right here. We'll take the high road. We'll go over this Redskins game. We'll review. I don't want to go down into too much detail on this game, but I'll kind of give a summary of it. Get your take, and then take a step back and it's kind of talk about here we are, week 5's in the books, heading into week 6, and who we are and where we are as a team. Let's kind of take a step back at this point because 2 straight losses in a row can have you feeling pretty bad, and there's some reasons to feel pretty bad, but maybe not as bad as we are feeling, because maybe our hopes got up, pretty high, being second season of Harbaugh and going 3-0 in the division, etc. So, and then we'll roll into the preview of the Dolphins game. But yeah, it was a tough one, especially coming off of that freaking Giants loss. That there's no excuse. Any given Sunday, you guys know that's my thing, and I'm a firm believer in it. But not for a Harbaugh team, okay? The Harbaugh teams take care of business, and we did not take care of business in New Jersey against the Giants, and so that one stung against a freaking rookie quarterback, no less. And then we have this happen against the Redskins at home, and so, there's no real easy way to go over. We all saw it, so I don't want to belabor it. I'll give a kind of an overall summary here. And it'll be painful, again, to go over that summary. But we won't pick at the wound. We'll just pull the Band-Aid off, but we won't pick at it. And we'll take a step back and kind of assess where we're at after 5 weeks heading into 6 weeks. So another painful loss. Man, we lost 27-10. And there's something in that score that we'll unpack there. At first, the game started out good. We were clicking, man. First 2 drives, 2 scores, we're up 10-0, and we're going in. We're on our way in for a 3rd score. Justin hits QJ. It's looking beautiful. He's getting some yak, and he coughs it up. And it was a tough hit. Okay, I'm not going to super fault him because he's not known for that. Okay, he's not known as a fumbler after the catch, but what happened after that is where all of us are feeling the pain. And it's amazing momentum in football. It's amazing. And you see it in other sports too, but pro football's the sport I follow the most. And it's amazing how you can have these momentum shifts. And so QJ fumbles. Okay, we're dominating, basically. We had 10 minutes to 5 minutes in time of possession in the first quarter, over 10 minutes, right? And we're up 10-0. We're going in for at least another 3, if not 7, and QJ coughs it up. From that point forward, anything we did positive, we negated with a simultaneous negative, i.e., making a long third down and having a holding penalty, making the next long third down and having an illegal procedure, not covering up the end. Or I forget if that was the penalty, but I know we had at least one, if not two of those, but I think it was, and it was on freaking Pitt. All right. And then, Ladd's special teams touchdown, and I think it was Wax roughing their punter. And it wasn't even questionable. It wasn't a questionable call. He roughed the punter. Period. He roughed the punter. Right? So from that point forward, we collapsed. Our defense couldn't stop them. They put up 27 unanswered points. That's what I mean by there's meaning in that score 27-10. We scored 10 from that point forward after QJ's fumble. They scored 27, and we couldn't do crap. All right. Justin running for his life. Pip gets dinged up. Becton gets dinged up, which, by the way, it was nice to see Becton back. But then he gets dinged up. And at that point, it's a free-for-all. Everybody hit Justin like he's a damn punching bag or piñata. Our defense couldn't stop anybody, and it got sloppy, man, between penalties, turnovers, missed assignments, missed tackles. If you watched last week's pod, one of the things I mentioned in that pod was that hopefully that Giants game, losing to that team, to a rookie quarterback, was a wake-up call for everybody in the organization, the coaches and the players. Clearly it wasn't. Maybe it started out that way, but as soon as one thing triggered negative, the entire team collapsed. Special teams, defense, offense, offensive line, everything. So that's all I'm going to say about this. I'm not going to belabor it anymore. It was ugly. It was painful. I'm sure a lot of people threw things and broke things after this game. Brennan, please feel free to chime in, because I could ramble all about the negativities of this game, but I promised myself I was going to just spew it and be done with it, and then we're going to move on to more of a big picture review. So,
yeah, so I feel like, I don't know if other Chargers fans feel like this, but the reason why it was so frustrating for me is it wasn't like those, like you explained it. It wasn't like just negatives were happening. The positives were happening, and we were so close every single drive. Something would happen, and then they would go 97-something yards and score a touchdown every time. For instance, Justin's interception on the 1 yard line, I'm pretty sure they scored a touchdown on that. They went down like 99 yards. Which Justin is known for a lot of tip balls, so he needs to be aware of that. Probably not the best idea. I'm not no quarterback, but probably not the best idea to throw it right in the middle with a lineman already having his hands up. So, kind of a bad decision there, but I just feel like we couldn't catch a break, and they played some elite football. I don't want to be the guy that is only gonna take away their win, but based off the first quarter, we beat ourselves 100%. They got turnovers based off of our mistakes.
Yep.
Lads, and they got away with a lot. Trey Pipkins needs to go back to Pop Warner or go to a Mexican league, because this guy screwed us over. 2, Ladd got a 3rd and 29. Keenan got like a 2nd and 28. Both of back-to-back plays, mind you, and both of them got taken away from him. And then he gets injured and comes back in, gets injured again and comes back in. That's not what you need from a lineman. So if you can't stay healthy, stay out. And if you're making those mistakes, man, you shouldn't be playing. I don't care if people are fan favorites like Bozeman. A lot of people like that guy because of what he did for Herbert, especially the front office, but he's not good. He's just not. So we need to handle that, and at the end of the day, don't want to be that guy again, but injuries. I think this was a key thing for us during this game. No Mac, no Najee. Hampton was out for at least a quarter or half of the game. We had 3 third-string linemen in the line. We didn't have Will Dissly, our tight end one. Tyler Conklin cannot catch a ball. I think it's very ironic that he's dropped 1 pass in 150 catches with the Jets, and he's already dropped 3 with us. He has like 2 total catches. So that all adds up to one big disaster. Like you, I don't want to nitpick anything. That's kind of the main thing I wanted to say. I don't want to get fully into this and relive the nightmares. Yeah, but I think we just got to clean stuff up. I think we got to get at, we'll go into it more, but this season is definitely not over, not even close. We can still get some good wins. Our schedule is honestly pretty easy to me. So if we can muster it up and get some good O-linemen and a couple more pieces, we'll talk about that later on. I think it's going to be good, but definitely a rough game. 27 unanswered points. That defense wasn't playing like one of the best defenses in the league. It's based off that momentum, like you said. A lot of the things I'm reiterating because you said it perfect, but momentum's huge, and they're not going to be able to carry the team. I don't care what people say. Defenses do not win championships in this day and age anymore. You have to have a whole complete team, all 3 phases. And unfortunately, 2 of those phases weren't doing too well, so the defense suffered. That's my opinion, at least.
Yeah, well, I would argue that 2 weeks in a row, our defense has not performed up to their normal, and I don't know what it is, their normal caliber these last 2 weeks, and I can't really put my finger on it. I think to me it just looks like a lack of focus. I'm almost like seeing like a Staley defense where it's almost like they don't know what they're doing. Where the whole thing with Mentor was to come in, simplify the thing, stop these guys from having to overthink and play. And so, I trust in these coaches. The caliber of these coaches is top notch. And so, I trust that they'll get this thing back on track, but man, it sure hurts to see 2 games in a row. Rookie quarterback, just slice us up, and dice us, and then Washington's good, but they're not great, and they were missing, several key weapons as well. The only thing I'll mention is while it's commendable that Trey and Becton both got dinged up and tried to come back in, here's the thing. I don't believe, and you guys know this, anybody who watches this podcast knows this. I've been talking about it forever since we started the podcast. Trey Pickens is a human being. I think he's a great dude. And I also think he's a great second string swing tackle, but he should never be a starter and definitely not for an extended period of time. So while he's trying to battle for his team and his quarterback when he gets injured, if he's not good uninjured, he sure in the hell isn't good injured. So stay out. Let somebody healthy at least go fight the battle and hopefully not get Justin killed. And we're going to talk about the numbers as we take a step back here with how many hits Justin's been taking his entire career, but also this season. It's not looking good. Okay. And last week I talked about it. Ortiz needs to go get us a starting caliber offensive lineman. He needs to go spend some capital, whether it's money, draft capital, or both. He needs to go get us a starting caliber offensive lineman. We'll deal with which should be a great problem next season, which is, now we've got Rashawn back, we've got Mekhi, we've got Joe Wall, and then this other starting caliber person, hopefully, that Ortiz would bring in. Ooh, that's a great problem to have next season. But we need it for survival this season. We'll deal with the issue of having, 4 starting caliber. And as, Harbaugh says, the best 5 will start. Right? So it's not even a problem. Go figure it out. And so we'll get into that as well. So, let's kind of take a step back and focus on some big picture, because I got to tell you, this is probably the worst I have ever felt as 40 plus years as a Chargers fan, being 3-2, 3-0 in the division, and tied for first in our division. And technically, we're in first place because of the tiebreaker. Intend that to go that way. But this is probably the worst I've ever felt, being first in the AFC West after 5 games and being 3-2. And so I was asking myself, why is that? And it's because what I foresaw as problems have begun to manifest themselves, and it's injuries that caused it, but it doesn't matter what caused it. There were some weak spots, and especially, remember, we were harping on this all last season with this interior offensive line. Now you have, your bookend studs go down. Alt's out, Rashawn's out for the whole season. And all of a sudden, you see the weak links in the chain because these studs aren't covering for the weak links in the chain. Now, these guys are supposed to be the studs covering for the other weak links that are coming in, and they're not that talented to do it. And so all of a sudden, the entire line is battling. And by the way, when I think you're getting your ass kicked, is when you're more susceptible to injury versus doing the ass kicking. You know what I'm saying? When you're going forward and you're the instigator, you're far less prone to get injured than you are if you're backpedaling and the other team's forcing their will on you. Just my opinion, but over years and years of watching football, I don't have any statistics to prove it. It's just an anecdotal thing, but I believe you're more susceptible to injuries, because you're not in control, right? The other team's in control. So why are we here? Just hit it. Injuries, Rashawn down, Alt down, Becton down. You might as well not have a line. They're basically turnstiles, and I hate to insult those guys, but
Yeah, I feel the same way. Touching on the injury thing, I am a big guy on, I want to know why, why is this happening? It happens to us every year. Last year, Dobbins was on IR. Ladd didn't play 3 games. There was a lot of guys that didn't play. The year before that, Justin was in and out. This last year, he was dealing with a high ankle sprain. And then this year, I'm not even going to mention all the injuries. It happens every year, obviously to every team. But for us, I want to try to see if I can pull stats and say it next pod. But I think we're probably the most injury team in the last 10, 15 years. It happens to us every year. When I'm saying elite guys or guys that actually matter, the fact that we're playing 3 third stringers as our starters on the offensive line is really, really terrifying. So Herbert cannot keep taking these hits, and people keep saying that, but you can't over-explain that, in my opinion. He's our offense. He is a top 5 QB when you give him protection. Those receivers are top 10, top 15 receivers if you give them the ball, but you can't give them a ball if he's running for his life. It's a whole chain reaction, and it starts with the O-line. And it kind of gets frustrating because Ortiz came out a couple weeks ago or a week ago saying, what about the O-line? And then he just went right back and said, well, we had an 11-6 season last year. Don't you think that's good enough? Are you kidding me, bro? You got to leave as a GM then, dude. We won a Super Bowl, my guy. We won a Super Bowl. Not an 11-6 season, maybe, but with the Super Bowl. And we lost the Texans game because of our O-line. So we got to do something. We can't keep bringing these practice squad and first round bust, hoping they're going to be good and think Harbaugh's going to do his magic like he did with Elijah Molden and Christian Fulton last year. It's obviously not working. So we need to change it fast. There's multiple guys in free agency that I don't know why they're not working out. They're better than these guys. you're not going to have a job anymore if you keep guys in based off if you like them or not. And that's Harbaugh's motto. He puts in guys that he loves a lot, and that's going to put him on the hot seat. That's all I'm going to say. You got to play guys that are good.
Yeah, well, I'll go back to Harb's always saying, we're going to play the best players. How do you know they're the best players? Because they play the best. Well,
doesn't feel like it.
I think he's trying to walk a fine line. Okay, you got to deal the hand you're dealt. And so if you're talking crap about your own players, even though you may be thinking it, but if you're talking it, you're gonna tear down those players, tear down morale. And so I think he's trying to make the best of a bad situation, but the guy's not dumb. Okay. He's anything but dumb. He sees it. Okay. And I'm watching him on the sideline during the game. He sees it. He's seeing it, and he knows he's got a $50 million a year quarterback that is the focal point of this team. And if that guy gets injured and is sidelined for any period of time, we're doomed. And by the way, ownership isn't going to be real happy about that either. Okay. Ortiz and Harbaugh know this. Okay. So why they haven't moved on this, I'm not quite sure. You can go back to last season and we talked. By the way, we're going to harp on the O-line for a while here, okay? Because part of the big picture is the O-line. In fact, the majority of the big picture is the O-line. And so forgive us as we kind of harp on this a little bit, but it goes back to last season, okay? We were looking at Zion, Bose, and Pip. Pip was playing right guard, okay? And it's like, we need to revamp the interior. The only revamping we did was Becton. I'm like, okay, I would have loved to see more, but when you've got these two studs in Rashawn and Alt, and then you bring in this massive Becton, maybe it'll be serviceable. Justin's good, and so he can make up for some shortcomings. But then you have your studs go down, and your shittiest players are now your best players. That is not a formula for success. And the depth, I like Salyer. Not going to say he's starting material yet. Maybe he can grow into it. I respect what he did when Slater went down during Salyer's rookie season. He moved out to left tackle, and he played very respectable at left tackle, by the way. Go watch the film on that. He did pretty doggone good. But the O-line is the source of most of what we're suffering through right now. And you got this $50 million quarterback. Harbs is always raving about him. Hey, I woke up one night and I'm like, I got to get this guy in the Hall of Fame. Well, he sure in the hell ain't going to Hall of Fame if he's running for his life, Jim. Okay. And I'll talk a little bit about some statistics here. Last 3 games, 17's last 3 games. We won 1, lost 2. And by the way, we barely eked out the win against the Broncos. Okay. That game wasn't looking good near the end, and we got lucky and eked out the win. But in the last 3 games, and by the way, the Broncos are probably by far the best defense out of those 3. 17 sacks, 35 hits on Justin in those 3 games. So that's almost 12 hits per game, 81 pressures. Pressure's almost as good as a sack if you have a quarterback who gets flustered pretty easy or has been hit so many times that now they're doing the old chuck and duck. If you remember that from Jerry Glanville in Atlanta back in the day, the old chuck and duck. Justin's on pace in his first 6 seasons, and I believe this is a popper stat, so I want to make sure I give him credit for this. He's on pace for over 600 hits in his first 6 seasons. And we've seen him getting dinged up his, last few years. Broken hands, fingers, plantar fasciitis, all these things. So he can't keep taking these hits. We need to find a way to protect this guy between game planning and players. The turnovers, most of them aren't his fault. O-line pressures, batted balls, wide receivers tipping balls, missed routes where rub route, your tight end knocks your receiver down and the DB is like, oh, thanks for the gift because the receiver's not where he was supposed to be because he got knocked down. This shit needs to get fixed on the O-line. It has to get fixed for many reasons. Justin's health, our success, all of it. It's all tied to protecting Justin. And I'll go back to an analogy. Most of you guys, Brennan for sure, aren't old enough to remember the 1994 Chargers that was coached by Bobby Ross, quarterbacked by Stan Humphries, general manager was Bobby Beathard, which ironically, he was the guy who put together the Hogs in Washington that won Super Bowls. But after that season, some players wanted to get paid and we had some turnover. After then, Beathard never put a quality offensive line in front of Stan Humphries. And he ended up taking hit after hit after hit. And we kept throwing the deep ball, which Stan was probably one of the prettiest deep ball throwers you'll ever see. Guy could hit a dime from 60 yards away, but he was getting banged up, concussion after concussion, cut his career short. He easily had another 5-6 years in him, cut his career short because you didn't put a damn offensive line in front of him. Joe, don't make the same mistake with Justin, all right? He's a big kid, but there's only so many hits you can take. And then the only other thing I'll say regarding his last 3 games and some statistics, because we talked about shooting ourselves in the foot. 27 penalties, last 3 games. Okay, that's not winning recipe, and that's definitely not a Harbaugh winning recipe. And so many of those penalties are coming at the wrong time and nullifying what otherwise was a good or great play. We've also had 6 turnovers, which is not like us and definitely not a winning formula. And those have caused us those penalties, inopportune penalties and turnovers. And the offensive line is a big part of all that. We barely eked out the win against the Broncos, lost to an inferior Giants team, and lost to what I would call a beatable, maybe not an inferior, but a beatable Redskins team, as we proved in the first quarter. They were definitely beatable, and we weren't able to pull it out. There's stuff that can be fixed here, but it needs to be fixed, and it's not going to fix itself.
Yeah, that was perfectly said. The last 2 games, I've called us first quarter warriors or 1 quarter warriors. That's what I've been calling us. The first quarter looks very good the last 2 games. 10-0 in the first quarter, the last 2 games. And then you look at the end of it, and it's just frustrating because easily could be 5-0. Easily. I know there's injuries, and I know they're working through it. So you just got to be optimistic about it. Just going back a little bit before, at the end of the day, people do have to realize they know what they're doing. And they know this problem. However, it's just frustrating when you have a guy like Andre James, who you don't know if he's going to be good or not. You don't know. He started for the Raiders. Bozeman has one of the worst center grades right now. What is negative going to come out? What's going to be like the negative outcome coming out of that if you put James in for a quarter, 2 quarters? It's not going to do. You can't get worse. I'm telling you, he's graded like 32 right now. You can't get worse than him at the moment. Yeah. So that's why I feel like some people or some fans are like, come on, man. And that's happening with a couple things throughout the line and the team. But they know what they're doing, actually transitioning to another point based off the fact that they traded for an edge, a really good one too. So they know what they're doing. They're trying to save the season. The fact that they traded for a really, really good edge who had 10 sacks last season, that's showing that they're trying to make stuff happen. Well, we need a running back and offensive lineman. Yeah, but we also needed an edge. So that's really good. Thule popped off for 1 game. Other than that, no one's done anything since. But Dupree has been MIA. He's been there, but MIA. So, and obviously Khalil Mack. So imagine Thule, Mack, and the new guy. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. So he that's going to be a really, really good edge rusher, like three-headed monster. So people got to realize they are making efforts. They are trying to do something because that defense is only going to be better now, which I know the last 2 games they weren't the best, but all last season they were good. The first 3 games they were lights out. So once you give them another guy, we talked about pressures and how big they were not even 10 minutes ago. He's going to give you some pressures. He's a big dude. He's only 26 years old, and he popped off last year. And he's going to a team that's pretty similar. The Ravens and Chargers are very similar in very like different aspects of stuff. Kind of like the 2025 and 1994 Chargers, the 2025 and 2025 Baltimore Ravens and Los Angeles Chargers are very similar in many ways, especially last year. So, just got to give them time at the end of the day. Got to let them do their stuff. I think it's going to be pretty good rest of the season. I'm just always an optimistic Charger fan, but we don't have that many hard games, in my opinion, where I think we're going to get obliterated. The only one in the next couple weeks that I think could be really rough is the Colts. Other than that, we play the Dolphins next, and we play a couple other teams that is definitely winnable. So if we can clean it up and hopefully get a couple guys back in the next couple weeks, we're gonna have a good run because we have a mid to late season bye. We're gonna get Mack back, Marion Hampton back, and a couple other guys back as well. Denzel Perriman back. So I think we're gonna make a late run for sure.
Yeah. And those are all things that I wanted to make sure we touched on. So I appreciate you bringing those up. Let's go ahead and since you jumped into it here, let's go ahead and talk about today's trade. I had that a little bit later in the agenda, but now's as good a time as any as we're kind of talking big picture about the team. The thing I would say first and foremost is you take what you can get. Okay, so right now that deal was available, and so Ortiz sealed the deal. And I think there's a few reasons for it. I think we're deep at safety between Derwin, Elijah, Jefferson, and then the Rook, R.J. Mickens, which showed out pretty good in preseason. And so I think we're pretty deep there. And by the way, you go back and watch the film. Alohi's not been the typical Alohi this season. He's missed some critical assignments for some long plays to opposing offenses. And so there might have been a message in this trade as well by the team, letting the other players know that none of you are safe if you have a loss of focus and you aren't executing the game plan as you've been coached up. But this edge guy, yeah, he's a former first-round pick. His name, I don't want to mess it up either, is Odafe Awe. Odafe Awe. And I'm
that sounds pretty accurate, but I would have no idea.
Yeah. So the trade that went down today with the Ravens was the Ravens are getting Alohi Gilman and a 2026 sixth round pick is my understanding, even though I've seen some people posting that was a fifth rounder. I haven't verified it, but I've seen both, a fifth and a sixth. I believe it's a sixth. And then we're getting Odafe and a 2027 seventh round pick. Okay, so this guy's a former first rounder. He did go off last season with 10 sacks. He's a big, strong, lanky dude. I mean, he's like 270 pounds, but if you look at him, he's long too.
He's 6'5".
Yeah, he's a kind of prototypical kind of big, long defensive end. And so I think he's going to come in here and provide some meaningful reps. And then once we do get Khalil back, he'll just be in that rotation, kind of like when we had Bosa here, right? So I don't see anything negative with this trade whatsoever. And the fact that it was with the Ravens, like you touched on, Brennan, this guy's going to hit the ground running. The culture is very similar. The scheme is very similar. And so I think it's a great, we didn't give up. We swapped a couple picks, 1 year to another and one round versus another, and a position that we were deep in, to a player who some might say was becoming a liability. Maybe not, but he had his good plays, but he had some missed assignments. That one against Cortland Sutton, that wasn't pretty. I like the trade. We needed help at defensive end. We needed help at rusher. Although he wasn't going to carry the day, like you said, Bud's Bud. He's a body, but boy, I haven't seen him like flashing at all. Nor have I seen these young guys flashing. Kennard or Caleb Murphy. Haven't seen any of those guys flashing yet. So great, bring the guy in. Competitors welcome. So now, forget all the talk about running back. Far, far less important position. We'll do running back by committee. I heard we're bringing, what's his name, back from, we cut him during preseason. Forgive me, Hines?
Oh, yeah, Miller Hines. We just brought him back, yep.
Yeah, bringing him back to the practice squad. And, so they'll figure that out. And by the way, if the O-line's blocking, I could run through the damn hole, okay? So worry less about that. And Joe needs to focus. I don't know, you work whatever magic you work, Joe, but you need to go find us a starting offensive lineman, either right tackle, left guard, or center. And I would argue that center would be the last of the three because, like Brennan talked about, we still got James we can put in there, and we haven't tried him yet. And if you get one of the other two fixed, Alt comes back, Makai's healthy, and you get a starter at either left guard or right tackle that can actually play that position, then I think we'll be fine for the rest of the season, barring any future injuries. So that would be, if I'm general manager, that's going to be my focus. I'm calling all 31 teams and finding out what's it going to take to pry a right guard or right tackle or left guard away from them. Starting caliber. Maybe they're backup, but starting caliber compared to who we have on our roster. Yeah.
Another thing that's interesting, that it is running back talk, but if we can swing it, I'd say go for it because Najee's out, and this would be a great duo. The Saints are looking to clean house right now. That's kind of the whole consensus right now. And they got a running back by the name of Alvin Kamara, who's on those trade rumors right now. Running back markets, especially trades, and for his circumstance right now, you could easily get him for a 5th or a 6th. Easily. So if that's on the table, imagine Amari on Hampton and Alvin Kamara. That's pretty impressive because Najee and Amari and Hampton are the same back. Alvin Kamara is very elusive. So if we could snag it, I'd say might as well do it. He is a elite running back, and it's only going to make us better, in my opinion. But I do agree. I think we need to put our focuses on the O-line. There has to be one team that is willing to trade for a starting offensive lineman. It's out there. There's always a market. Like I said earlier, too, there's a pretty good amount of free agents that are O-linemen that were good a couple years ago that still have some in the tank that are still better than some of the guys we have and aren't like bust or practice squad guys. They're proven players that you definitely just put in a workout. Why not? So it doesn't hurt. So, yeah, I agree. Offensive line is definitely going to be very important. I'm pretty sure we also signed that center, Kaltenberg.
Kaltenberg.
Yeah, so we got him too. Obviously, that's just depth, but hopefully that's not the only thing they're going to do because as of recently, that's the only thing they've been doing. They traded for Austin Delekis, or however you say his name, but he's not been too great. So, and he wasn't really a starter. He was just a good depth player for him and went in when he needed to. That's not what we need. You said it perfectly. We need a starting offensive lineman who is established already. We need someone to protect Herbert. You can't keep rolling out, or you're not going to have a run game. And you're also not going to have Herbert's legs, which is a very powerful weapon that he can't utilize if he's running every time. They're going to look for it every time because they know he's going to run. You got to have a good medium of it.
Yeah. Heck, if Kamara fell to us without too much capital, because we only signed Najee to a 1-year deal, so we don't even know if he's going to be back.
What I'm saying,
rehabbing.
I don't think he will, in my opinion, based off him not really seeing the field at all. Not preseason, not off season, not the season. So
yeah, I mean, he's only had like 24 snaps this season, and he's gone. So there's no guarantee they'll bring him back. Odds are probably against them bringing him back. And so, yeah, if we could land an Alvin Kamara without giving up a whole lot, I'm not against it. I'm just saying that shouldn't be where Joe's focusing. If it's there, take it, right? But Ortiz needs to literally call all 31 GMs and be like, especially the ones with the worst, low records, right? Start at the bottom and work your way up. And, what's it going to take to part with, John Doe? And see what he can work. And if he has to spend some draft capital in future seasons to save this season, do it. By the way, you're not just saving this season, okay? You're literally saving Justin Herbert's life.
All right? You brought up something very important that I forgot that I was going to bring up. Joe Ortiz loves, and I do not agree with it, especially when in our position right now, he loves to get as many draft picks as possible. To a certain extent, yes, that's good, like the Tarheeb. This year, it's not really shaping out to be that way. Last year really wasn't either for those 6th, 7th round guys. I don't see why, this trade was perfect. Send a 6th. It's very rare that those 6th and 7th round picks are going to be very good. Just look at the numbers. It's as of recently, it's been getting better, and you can say, "Oh, Tarheeb and them," but they were 5th round picks. 5th is still a little early to me. 6th and 7th round picks, he loves to gain those things, but send them for some players. Why not? You have picks 1 through 5 still. So, if you want to get some good players, you can get some good players. This last offseason, there were so many elite players that went for 6th and 7th round picks. So, just might as well. So, I just wanted to bring that up because, there's no point of having 3 or 4 6th and 7th round picks combined when you're really not doing anything with them. Might as well send 2 or 3 of them for a really good player.
Yeah.
So
and if you can get away with doing 6th and 7ths,
might as well.
By all means, do it. But I'm going to become an advocate of even maybe, trading a higher round pick for a true starting caliber right tackle or left guard. And by the way, I love Zion Johnson, and I've been hoping that things are going to click for him, but they just aren't clicking. I don't know why. He's got all of physical traits. Seems like an incredibly smart guy, but why it's not clicking, I have no idea. But man, he gets burnt so often. And it doesn't help that Bose isn't great either, right? And now he's got, a 2nd or 3rd string tackle next to him on the other side. So he's not getting, all pro help, which doesn't help. But yeah, I would go spend the draft capital for a true starting caliber left guard or right tackle, and then let the best 5 shake themselves out next season, right? When we've got Alt and we've got Rashawn and we've got Mackay and whoever this other body is. And of course, they'll be bringing in more draft picks and free agents next season. Let it shake out then. But in the meantime, unless you're just going to let Herbert hand the ball off every snap of the game, you're jeopardizing his longevity and his ability to excel in this game. And bless his heart, he doesn't complain about it at all. But I've watched a lot of football. The David Carrs of the world, the Andrew Lucks of the world. He was great despite all the hits he took, but he retired early because it was just taking a toll on him. You can't. Stan Humphries, right? I mean, you can't sustain that. And Harbs is in love with his quarterback as he should be. And so I don't know what he has to do, but go do it. I don't
Justin is only going to take this for so much longer. That's all I'm going to say. You've seen multiple players from multiple teams that you were going to see franchised, but they weren't because they can only take so much. He's going to have a reaching point. Everybody has a boiling point and a reaching point where they're like, hey, I either need a trade or I'm going to have to retire. And Justin Herbert, you cannot let that happen to. That dude deserves a Super Bowl, and in my opinion, he has what it takes to win a Super Bowl. So we want to keep him for a couple years is all I'm going to say, because there's not going to be too many quarterbacks if we get rid of him because of our line and everything. There's not many that are going to be Justin Herbert elite. And people might say, hey, that will never happen. That will never happen. We've seen it happen, and also the other players people are trying to compare him to don't have historical numbers on how many times you've gotten hit.
Yeah.
17 sacks in 3 weeks is one of the most diabolical things I've ever heard in my whole entire life. Name another quarterback that has that in the last 5 years. I will wait. I dare someone to comment on that because it's probably maybe one other player. So he's going to only take so much. So we need to fix this, and we need to fix it fast.
Yeah, well, especially of Justin's caliber. Many hits. Yeah, I mean, we could just absolutely belabor this for the entire podcast. It's that important.
Yeah.
I don't think we should. I ranted about it last week. We ranted about this stuff all last season. I mean, it's obvious. Put it this way. If it's obvious to us, it's got to be obvious to them. But there, sometimes the whole forest through the trees thing. Sometimes you can be too close to an issue and not see it clearly. And that's part of the reason I wanted to take a step back in this podcast after 2 losses in a row and this absolute collapse to the Redskins. Let's just take a step back. Let's not get down in the weeds on that Redskins game. Let's look at the big picture. Excessive penalties, excessive turnovers, and Justin literally running for his life, missed assignments, just all of those things at a higher level speak to lack of attention, focus, whatever you want to call it. It's not that the coaches aren't coaching it, but players are distracted for some reason. Maybe that 3-0 start. Maybe some of them, they got distracted by that 3-0 start. You've heard me say before, as a lifelong Chargers fan, I've seen them perform better when they're the underdog. When they start getting the media accolades, typically I've seen, at least the Chargers, some players it goes to their head and then they get distracted. I'm not saying that's what's happening here. I'm just saying something causes you to have penalties, unforced penalties, and turnovers and missed assignments. And it's all facets, special teams, defense, offense. So there's work that needs to be done. Can it be fixed? Yes, we have a schedule that should help us. We're still in first place. We're 3-2. Still in first place of the division. So everything we want this season is not out of reach by any stretch of the imagination. But if we continue to ignore the elephant in the room, we're screwed. And so hopefully they're not ignoring it. Hopefully they're not too close to the problem. And hopefully they're working on it. Because clearly they didn't fix it in the off season to the degree I had hoped that they would. And I give them a little bit of a pass because you look really good when you've got Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt, and Mekhi Becton. You kind of go, we're pretty good. But then these guys get paid really big bucks to run this team, and they've all seen injuries. And you don't go, well, I'm going to lose both of my starting stud tackles. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what if you did? Is Trey Pipkin the guy? Yeah, for a quarter, for a game, but not 4 games. So without belaboring it anymore, I'm going to move on. But Brennan, feel free to just kick that thing one more time before we move on.
Yeah, so long story short, if we can get things together, I think this is going to be a good season. They just need to get stuff together. Team morale needs to be up more. We had a tough 3 first games, and we did it. So the fact that we're losing these 2 games, it could be a fluke. Who knows? We could go no losses ever again in the season. We could not win. We could do whatever, but we just have to keep the faith, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
And so moving on to another topic I wanted to hit on real quick, which is all related, by the way. All of this big picture stuff is all interrelated, but I wanted to take a minute because maybe some of you guys haven't taken a minute and after 5 games and preseason looked at the number of injuries we've actually had, and significant injuries too. So I just wanted to run down the list real quick, okay? Obviously, we lost Rashawn Slater before the season even started, right? We've lost Joe Alt to a high ankle sprain. Now, they didn't put him on IR, so he could come back as soon as he's ready. And my God, we need him desperately. Mekhi Becton's been out with a concussion, came back this week, but he's in and out of the game. It's my understanding it wasn't re-aggravating the concussion. It was some other things. I think it was a hand or a wrist, if I'm not mistaken. In
Same
this
thing he was dealing with last year.
Yeah, we lost Khalil Mack with his elbow, dislocated elbow, and they put him on IR. So he can't come back until the Colts game, which is, by the way, it's coming up quick. We've got the Miami game, Colts game after that. So he's out. Najee Harris snapped his Achilles, out for the season. Perryman's been out on IR. He can now, they're opening up his window this week. He can come back. Man, we need him. Junior Colson, we lost Colson. Will Dissly. Elijah Molden's lost time. Darius Davis has been out. I'm going to butcher this. Naquan? Is that right? Naquan Jones?
Naquan Jones.
Naquan. Hart's missed time. Stills missed time. Who am I missing? Oh, Hampton just went out in the 4th quarter of this game with an ankle, and they put him on IR today. So he's gone for at least 4 weeks. Seriously. Oh, Becton, Mack, Hampton, Harris, Slater, Perryman, Colson, Dissly, Molden, Darius Davis, Jones, Hart, Still. And I'm probably missing a few others that have missed time. Are you kidding me? And by the way, this is a rhetorical question, but if you want to leave an answer below, feel free. What the hell, Coach Herb? I thought you were making our players harder to break. Well, as a lifelong Chargers fan, looks like they're breaking just about the same as they've always broken. Feel free to chime in, Brennan, but I'm not real happy about this. And I thought Herb was fixing this problem for us.
Yeah, I either said this in the pod or right before when we were talking. I think it was in the pod. Something's got to change. We are always injured. Last year we had about the same list, maybe even bigger. It's the emphasis for me is it just past week 5, guys. Just past week 5, and you named almost 12 of our starters. Week 5, we have 12-ish more weeks left. So
late this season, which I love, but when you're walking wounded,
Yeah,
You
we
kind of
better win some of these games because that bye's not going to matter if we are 3-8 and then we finally get everybody back. That's not really going to matter at that point. So I agree with you. I think we definitely need to do something. I just don't know what's going on. That's what I want to know, because they're always bringing in other people. We have trenches, so like build through the trenches. We have a lot of depth, meaning those guys can come in sometimes. I don't know if it's just bad luck, a Charger curse, or it's just it happens to us every year, and this year it's just happening to us earlier and to a bigger extent. So
yeah.
just frustrating because I feel like we can never have any good season nice. It has to be something. So
Yeah, when you've got the coach, you've got the quarterback, you think you've got the O line, right? You got the DBs now, and just you've got, and then no, you don't. You lose your stud left tackle before the season even starts. It's like, are you
yeah.
effing kidding me? Now, I heard a really good rant about this from John Gruden yesterday. And some of you may not be a big fan of Gruden. I became a fan of Gruden after he left the Raiders and won the Super Bowl against the Raiders, and then kind of left the game. I was doing ESPN. I actually became a fan of Gruden. I respect Gruden is probably the way to put it, and I think he was done dirty by the league, and I'm looking forward to him forcing the league to air their dirty laundry, because I don't think it's going to be pretty, and I think Goodell has it coming. I'm just going to say it. But why was it only Gruden's emails that were released, right?
Yeah.
It's totally sus. Not condoning what he said in the emails, but they were out to get the dude. But I totally off topic. He had a rant, and I think he's spot on. Now, this isn't Chargers specific. This is about the NFL. And it goes back to this damn collective bargaining agreement. The frickin' players union has made it such that these players cannot practice like the game of football in pads with contact very much anymore. And so you've got these players that aren't really in football condition for the first 3, 4, 5 weeks of the season. And I think there's something to that. You got to listen to a guy like Gruden, who's an old school, hard-nosed coach, going, look, here's the problem. It's right in front of your freaking nose. We treat these guys like little princesses, right? And no, you got to be able to put on pads and sweat your ass off and put in the work so that when the regular season rolls around, you're in playing condition. Now, I also think turf is an issue. And there's a lot of people who have a problem with turf, watching all these Achilles and ACLs and some of those injuries. Now, when did we lose Najee?
New York? Week 2 or 3.
Against the Donkeys or against New York?
Donkeys.
Then he was playing in SoFi on actual grass. So it's not 100%, but they're more prone to have those types of injuries on turf. It's less forgiving as far as you get hit, you get rolled up on. Offensive lineman, big deal, right? That's why Joe's out. He got rolled up on. And so I think there's something to that. Is that 100% of it? No, but I think those two things, if they mandated every stadium has to have turf, those dome people are going to be bummed, except for Arizona, because they've got turf. They roll it out until game time, so it's out in the parking lot, growing real grass, and then roll it in. But some of these other dome teams would have to retrofit for that. But I think there's something to playing on grass. It's a little slower, but it's a little more forgiving for the players. And I don't know if there'd be too many players who would complain about being on turf. And then probably all the players these days would probably, with a few exceptions, would probably complain about having more hardcore practices than they're currently used to. But I do believe there's merit in that, especially now there's a shortened preseason, right? With the extra game added, they're only playing 3 preseason games. And by the way, most of the starters rarely play, 1 series or 2 series in those 3 preseason games. In our case, we had 4 preseason games this year. And so they get those reps in practice and training camp, and then on some, where they scrimmage with some other teams. And that's like the extent of it. They're very rarely in pads and very rarely doing contact. You remember Marty Schottenheimer? I mean, he'd do the damn Oklahoma drill on his players in training camp, mano y mano. Somehow we need to get back to that. But that's all I got is, the turf, and then Gruden going off about these guys just aren't getting the type of football conditioning and practice that they used to in years past. And we're talking, collective bargaining agreements. The new one's been in place like 10 years now. So it's prior to that. And I remember when they instituted that, I'm like, oh, that's total BS. I'm sure the players love it because they're getting paid millions of dollars and they don't have to work as hard. But from a football fan perspective, I'm sitting there going, this is total BS. We're going to pay for it in the long run in the quality of the game. And Gruden is saying we are.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm on the grass type of deal with everything too. When it comes to the turf stuff, I think just normal grass, less injuries in my opinion, but to a certain extent. And then I do think that too, but to a certain extent as well, like got to make sure they're not getting injured in the off season. But regardless, you always have off-season injuries, so might as well try to toughen them up a little bit more. But I thought Herbs was gonna do something. I thought he was gonna make it a little better, but honestly, quite frankly, it's not been better, maybe a little worse. So I don't know what they're doing, but they need to show them, I guess, how to play better, or it's just bad luck. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it needs to get fixed because this is getting frustrating. Why even do this in the first place? Why trade? Why pick these guys up if they're just going to get injured every single year? Happened to tons of players last year. So
yeah, well, and there's some that you can't attribute to any of this. For instance, Khalil Mack's injury. Right, that's just friendly fire from Troy Dye. Right, nothing. He's just going for the tackle, and Dye's the one who hit his elbow and dislocated it. Now, I could argue that if Perryman hadn't been hurt, Dye wouldn't have been in there.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think Dye is a really good second string linebacker to come in and play some snaps or a quarter, but where he's had extended action, I do believe he's been a liability for this defense.
He has, yeah.
He's missing tackles. Derwin missed a few tackles, but Derwin's missed a few tackles because he's trying to overcompensate right now. It's obvious he's trying to overcompensate for some other shortcomings at maybe Troy's position and some others. So it's a stereotype, right? It's not 100% across the board, but like I said, Mack's injury, you could almost tie to Perryman's injury. Right? If Perryman doesn't go out, maybe Mack doesn't have his elbow dislocated. So injuries have been a problem for us throughout our history. Any of you have been Chargers fans for any period of time, you know it. I mean, it's going way back. I mean, we're going back 80s and 90s, all right? It's always been an issue. Coach Herbs, not ready to throw in the towel yet. Everybody raves about the guy, but we're not yet seeing the results. And, Rashawn, right? If we had harder preseason, well, look what happened to Rashawn. But I could argue because Rashawn did a sit-in, he wasn't in very good condition. And so he got hurt in preseason, where if he wasn't holding out, doing a sit-in or hold-in, I think they call it now, he would have been in better shape and maybe not torn his ACL. What if, woulda, coulda, shoulda? We don't know. But, if it wasn't a contract year and he was getting all the reps and OTAs and preseason, maybe he doesn't tear that ligament. So, yeah, we can only speculate. So bottom line, though, is we've lost massive key players, and we're seeing the results of it on the field.
Yeah.
So we're going to get some guys back. Really excited, get Joe Alt back. Really excited to get Denzel back. Really excited to get Khalil back. Really, we already talked about Denzel. I'll be excited to get Hampton back. He's just going on his 4 week, but the kid's shown some really, really good stuff there. So I'll be excited to get Darius back. Every time I see Ladd back, I'm afraid for Ladd.
So
Okay.
you actually brought up a good point. We actually signed someone we didn't talk about, and I think it's because they might be compensating for putting Darius on IR. So we'll see. Hopefully he doesn't, but we just signed a guy that's been in our nightmares a lot, Jalen Rager. We just signed him again. So we have a 3-headed monster. Also the 2 rooks. Obviously, it's not for that depth. I truly think it's for special teams. I think he's going to be in Ladd's position instead of Ladd. Personally, in my opinion. So I just wanted to touch on that because that's kind of important as well. Now we have one less roster spot as well, and they didn't even sign him to the practice squad, I'm pretty sure. I think they just re-signed him to the 53-man roster as a whole. So
that's what I saw. I saw that he was re-signed, not re-signed to the practice squad.
yeah,
I found that as a curious signing, and I appreciate your perspective on that. Which is, they're probably going to take Ladd off of return, especially punt return, and put Jalen back. I mean, because if my heart's kind of stopping when Ladd's back there, I don't want to see him get creamed. Odds are Harbaugh's heart skips a beat too every time Ladd's back there. All he needs to do is take the wrong hit, and next thing you know, we don't have Ladd either. So, that makes really good sense. That makes really good sense. We will see. We will see this weekend against Miami, which is probably as good as a transition as we're going to get going into this Miami game. So, give me your 2 cents overview. I don't want to go into the Miami game too much. I've learned that predicting these things is tough, but there are definitely some things I'm going to be looking for.
Yeah, so I don't really have too much to say about this game. I'll let you take over for most of it, but the main thing I just have to say is I really don't know what's going to happen based off the last 2 weeks. This is a team we should beat like the last 2 teams, and we didn't. So I don't know what we're going to do, but I know they don't have Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
Tua's not been performing the best, and their defense is as of right now. They can put up some points, like 30-ish points against the Patriots, but they can also give up that much. And personally, even with our injuries, I still think we're a little better than most of the teams they've played so far. I think it's a 100% winnable game, but based off the last 2 weeks, I'm not sure. So that's all I'm going to say, but you just got to look for Jalen Waddle, and their running back is the only thing I'm actually nervous about on their team. HN, he's really good. He's a solid back. So if we can just get him with our interior defensive line and just stop him on the line, I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I agree. It's winnable. We need it. We definitely need the win. We dodged a bullet last night with the Chiefs choking right at the end. And boy, the refs sure tried to give them that game last night too, with the non-call on the pass interference. That wasn't a pass interference. That was an obvious pass interference. Even the announcers are like, and the ref that, is part of the announcing team. It's like, oh yeah, that was an obvious pass interference, right? And they didn't call it. And then of course the Chiefs scored a touchdown. But thank goodness the football gods were smiling on us, because otherwise we'd be 3-way at 3-2 instead of just 2-way with the Donkeys at 3-2. So couldn't happen to a better team. being the Chiefs, to lose that game. But we need this win for a lot of reasons. Number one, just to get that winning taste back in our mouth. I think there's something to that. Like I talked about momentum. Momentum is really important. It's not just in-game momentum, it's seasonal momentum. And right now we've got negative momentum with 2 losses in a row. So we definitely need to get a win under our belt. Now, this is one of those, anytime a West Coast team goes east and plays in that early time zone, that early time frame slot, it's more difficult. And the statistics prove it. West Coast teams flying east and playing in that 10 o'clock time slot, it's more difficult on them. We just got our butts kicked basically by the Giants doing that. Now, 2 weeks later, we're doing it again, flying down to Miami, and we're going to be playing in that early 10 a.m. time slot. So their body clocks are going to be all jacked up, and they're going to be thinking they're doing walkthroughs when it's kickoff time, right? That's their whole routine and their body clock. So it's not easy. We can't take the Dolphins lightly. They have not been performing well. They did lose Tyreek, but Waddle's a threat. A-Chain, that guy's a dual threat. I've watched a few highlights of him this season. He's a really good receiver too. I mean, really good receiver. He can play receiver. He's that good. So you can't just try and stop him from running, which he's really good at, between the tackles especially, but he can get the edge. But then he's great out of the backfield receiving. And then, oh, by the way, let's not forget that dude who came out of retirement, a guy by the name of Darren Waller. That guy's been a touchdown machine for them this season. I think that's all he's done is catch touchdowns so far this season. So we can't ignore Waller either. So we can't take this game lightly, and we need to figure our own shit out because we've been beating ourselves, I think. We haven't been beaten yet. We beat ourselves. So as long as we don't beat ourselves in this game, I think we'll be all right. Okay.
Yep.
So what am I going to be looking for in this game? Number one, who's starting at offensive line? Okay. Big mystery to me. As far as I'm concerned, they could literally just take the chalkboard, wipe it clean, and put in a whole new lineup at the offensive line. That's how bad we have sucked. So who's going to be starting? What are they going to do there? Are they going to do anything? Or are they going to stick to whatever they got? But one way or another, we got to keep Justin clean. Now, fortunately for us, Miami's not a sack leader this year. They're middle of the road. But against our line, we can make them look like superstars. So we need to avoid that, which falls on Giro. Giro, if we don't have any improvements on our offensive line, then Giro needs to game plan for this. And what I mean by that is run first, throw second. So set up the pass with the run, play action pass. And they need to be short passes, quick, short passes, and intermediate passes. We can't be waiting around for the long ball as much as we normally do. So we can game plan a certain amount, put in Tucker Fisk and Matlock and do some of that stuff. But we can game plan some of keeping Justin more upright. And then who's going to get the reps at running back? That's the other thing I'm going to be looking at. With Hampton down and Najee down, is it Vidal and our boy Haskins? Are we going to bring somebody up from the practice squad? Is Hines going to get in? It's going to be interesting to see how those reps get split.
Yeah, I just read something right now, literally as you said that, NBC Sports, Haskins likely to replace Hampton as RB1.
Interesting. They would go with Haskins.
4 hours ago by NBC Sports.
Okay. I don't know if they have any inside source on that or if that's just speculation. I think
it can go either way, in my opinion.
It's going to be running back by committee. And I wouldn't be shocked if reps get split equally between at least Vidal and Haskins, but I wouldn't be shocked if they bring somebody up on the practice squad as well, whether it's Patterson. I think Patterson's on our practice squad. I haven't looked at the practice squad in a week or two. So that's what I'm going to be looking for on offense. On defense, can we get back to playing Jesse mentored defense? What I mean by that is, can we get back to bend but don't break. That's our zone defense that we've been really, really good at for last season and almost a half. Well, we haven't been really good at it the last couple of games. But limit the opponent's scoring. Yes, they put up some yards, but as we get closer to the red zone, we stiffen up. And by the way, I talking about defense, man, I got a hats off to Tier Tart. Dude's balling, dude. Tart's balling. He got the strip fumble recovery this week against Washington. I'm like, yeah, all right, that's what we needed. And then we squandered it away with self-inflicted wounds. But hats off to Tier. He's definitely balling. And that kid, Jamari Caldwell, our rook, he's flashing too. And then Hand is playing good. Our interior D-line's playing good. It'd be great to get some of these injured guys back like Mac. And this guy we just traded for, going to be really interested. That wasn't in my notes, but going to be really interested to see how he contributes this week. I think they're going to be able to bring him in immediately and put him in the rotation. I'd be shocked if they aren't able to do that. Coming from the Ravens, which is going to be probably as close as you can get to another team, to the Chargers, and be able to plug him in. And then can we get off the freaking field on third down? Okay, we need to get better at that, get back to what we were used to doing. And then turnovers, we need to win a turnover battle. We haven't been winning that these last couple games. We need to get back to that. So those are the things I'm going to be looking for on defense is, do we get back to playing our style of defense? Do we get teams off the field on third down? And are we going to create more turnovers than we give away and win the turnover battle? So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I agree. I think you nailed it on the head right there. I think that's perfect. To be honest, I think that goes for any team we would play. I don't think the Dolphins present anything special where we've played better teams this year already with better offenses and better defenses. So I think we just got to clean up our mess, and then I think it's going to be good. But, yeah, I don't know if you want to transition to score predictions, but...
Well, the one last thing I'll mention, and then, let's go ahead and get those predictions out. And after these last 2 weeks compared to the first 3 weeks, I'm going to pull a number out of where for this prediction. But the one thing I did want to mention relative to the trade, which I don't believe we've mentioned here in the pod, is with Alohi being shipped out, we did mention we're deep at safety, and I may have already mentioned this, but I don't think it's a bad thing that Tony Jefferson should be getting much more playing time. He has done nothing but show that he is worthy of getting more playing time ever since they signed him last season. And so I think it's a good thing that with Alohi gone, Tony Jefferson's more than likely going to be getting even more reps, and that can only help our defense. So I just wanted to mention that if I hadn't touched on it earlier. So
that's
last week. Go ahead real quick.
No, you're good. I agree. I think personally for me, he's a San Diego boy. He loves this team. He chose us to come back out of retirement. I think, number one, that's a team player. Number two, his two preseason with us, he was the best defensive player, wasn't even close. And then this year when he comes in, he's making plays against these elite defenses. And then you see Alohi Gilman get a 90-yard bomb on him, and he's 40 yards back from the receiver. So I agree with
Enough
you.
said.
He deserves it. So
yeah. Enough said. I think it's going to be some addition by subtraction because with Alohi's snaps, they got to go to somebody.
Yep.
And so I suspect Molden will get more and Jefferson will get more.
Yep.
Derwin obviously plays like every snap, so he can't get any more than 100%. Unless I guess they put him on special teams too, which they're not stupid enough to do. But getting Tony Jefferson more reps, I don't know how anything bad can come out of that for our defense. He's a baller. He's smart. He's seen everything. So I just wanted to make sure I got that out there in this podcast. So, Brennan, you weren't with us last week, so I didn't have a game prediction from you. My game prediction was this was actually going to be a pretty close game and more of a defensive struggle. And that I had predicted we were going to pull it out 17-13. It's just, it was not even close. So this week against the Dolphins in Miami in the early time slot with all sorts of issues that we've talked about in this podcast. What are you thinking?
I'm kind of going what you were saying last week. I'm sorry, but until they show me again, I'm not having faith for those crazy scores right now. So I'm going 13-10 Dolphins.
Ugh, really? All right.
I want to be as positive as I can, but I don't think they're going to switch it up in less than 1 week. I've been watching everything they've been talking about. I've kind of bit my lip a little bit this podcast. They're saying the wrong things as of right now, in my opinion, and this today was the only good thing that they've done. But Miami is one of those sleeper teams. They've been putting up like 20 to 30 points almost every game but one game. They're better than the Giants by a lot, I can tell you that. If they play lights out, we're getting crushed. Because the O-line, I'm sorry, but the O-line is not going to perform lights out next week if they haven't been playing. It's not going to change overnight is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going with the Dolphins. Hopefully I eat my words, but as of right now, I've put us up 20-point favorites in the last two games, and it's been quite the opposite. So
I feel you. What's that? Burn me once, burn me twice, burn me thrice.
Yeah, so we'll see, though. I have faith in us, but as of right now, with our team, I think they might win.
Well, to your point about they're not saying all the right things, I suspect they're thinking the right things.
I hope so.
But their hands are somewhat tied with the players they've got right now anyway. And so if they were to say the right things, they might discourage or demoralize some of those players that they don't have a choice but to count on to perform. And so Harbaugh's walking the razor's edge between shooting it straight or trying to build up what he knows isn't build upable until they can get some reinforcements in there. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm going to give Harbs the benefit of the doubt that he's saying one thing even though he's thinking another simply because he doesn't have a choice right now. But I agree with you in the sense that I don't see any cavalry coming on that offensive line, at least not this week, unless Ortiz does Ortiz shit really, really quick. And so put it this way, if they get out in front of us, we're screwed. If we're playing from behind, we're hosed. However, if we can control the clock and run the ball first, so get our inferior offensive line moving forward and attacking instead of moving backwards and defending Justin. In other words, run first, throw second, and just stick to it. And we can get a small lead and we're playing from the front. I think we've got a fair chance because we're still a good team and we're still talented in many areas. So, like I said, I'm pulling this one out. The Chargers fan in me just can't see my way clear to come flying all the way back across the country with another L and be 3-3. but I don't think we're going to run away with this thing either by any stretch of the imagination. If we can control the clock and run with Haskins and Vidal, man, yeah. Last week, 17-13, staring me in the face on my note sheet right now. But that being said, I think we can put up more than 17 against this defense. This defense is not very good. In fact, I believe they're dead last in the NFL against the run. If I'm not mistaken, when I looked up that stat, I do believe they're last. In fact, I think I still got it up.
Good thing they're playing third and fourth string running backs.
Yeah. And so I'm going to go 20-17 Chargers.
All righty.
It'll be a close one. It's going to be a nail biter. I don't have any nails from the last couple of weeks, but that's what I got. So the Chargers fan in me is hoping for a win because at this point it feels like a coin toss. I don't know where the team went that was weeks 1 and 2. I don't know where that team's at right now, and Harbaugh has to go find them.
Yeah, I agree.
And part of it went away with Joe Alt and Khalil Mack and, Mackay.
Yeah.
And Raji, and now Hampton, and Denzel.
A bunch of other people.
Go back through that list again. But that's where that team went, and we're slowly going to start getting those guys back. Fingers crossed we get Denzel back this week. I think that'll be big. And they've been mum's the word, on Joe, but they have not put Joe on IR. So young kid should heal faster than an old guy like me. And so, hopefully we see him back sooner than later. That's all I got for you, man.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think this was just a podcast of looking and realizing what we have in the overall view of what we're coming into going into week 6. So we'll see. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, so hopefully we can be squared away. But as of the last 2 games, that's probably some of the worst football I've seen since the Staley era. So we need to, early Staley era. So we need to get our things together. I think this is a very promising season just for you to throw it away. So I think we can come back. It's still early, so we got to just keep the faith and try to keep going. That's all I have to say about it.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. This is probably the worst football we've seen since the Staley era. Definitely haven't seen it since Coach Harbs has come in. And Harbaugh and his staff are getting paid big bucks.
Yep.
Okay, they're getting paid big bucks, and this is why they get paid the big bucks. If any of us Chargers fans thought it was going to be smooth sailing, we should all know better. It is football. There are injuries. There are challenges. We just got inundated with them real fast, starting in the preseason with Rashawn going down. But we're going to see what this team's made of. We're going to see what Coach Harbs is made of, and Giro and Jesse Mentor and Joe Ortiz, for that matter. But we're still 3-2. We're 3-0 against the division. We are still in first place in division as we sit right now doing this pod. And would you rather be the Raiders?
Yeah, I know. Or even the Chiefs, at that matter.
Well, Andy Reid, I'll go with Andy Reid before I'll go Raiders. If you're going to ask me to pick,
they're two down bad teams.
Andy Reid with some scrubs.
Yeah, I said it's just 2 down bad teams that it could be worse. We could be 2-3 or whatever the Raiders are. So
it could be 1-4. Geno Smith is our quarterback. So I'm just saying. Look at the cup half full. It's so easy as fans over these last 2 games to be down. And I get it. I get it. These were not good showings. And if we continue to perform like this is going to be a shitty season, and we're all going to be screaming bloody murder at the end of the season. But it's still early. We're still in first place. The most important thing through 18 weeks is that we win the division. Currently, we're 3-0 in the division, and we're still in first place in the division. So it could be worse. I'm just saying.
Yep.
Go look at some of those Raider pages and go look at some of those Raiders fans. And, man, they are jumping off the ship already like rats off a pirate ship that's been sunk. So pirate ship has been sunk. That's why they're jumping off like rats. So it could be worse, Chargers fans. And with that, this is a tough one this week, but I'm going to stick with it. Who's got it better than us?
Nobody.
Right? It's tough this week, I get it, but we are still in first place, leading our division, and we are 3-0 against the division. So, as we sit in the AFC West, nobody's got it better than us. We will revisit this next week when we come back to talk about how we performed in the Dolphins game and kind of talk about some of these issues that we talked about this week and see how maybe, hopefully, things are starting to improve in all facets of the Chargers game. So with that, Brennan, I knew this was going to be a long podcast this week. There's so much to cover. It seems like there's always more to talk about in losses than there is in wins. And, it just is the way it is. But glad to have you back. And we'll have you back next week, and we'll keep doing this thing, win or lose, preferably with wins. And the rest of you guys, appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And bolt up. We'll see you guys next week on Chargers. Hi, I'm Kirk Brewer, the creator and host of ChargersCast. I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of ChargersCast. We really appreciate you engaging with the podcast. When I created ChargersCast, it was intended to be a podcast about everything Los Angeles Chargers from a fan perspective. It's by fans and for fans. So it's for you, and we really appreciate you being here. If you haven't done so already, please go down below, leave a comment, give us some feedback. We really love to hear from you. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and click the little bell so that you get notifications when new content drops. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to ChargersCast. And who's got it better than us? Nobody.